to another Adobe Illustrator beginner lesson. Today we're going to be talking about the Align tool, which is something I use very often when I'm working in Adobe Illustrator. A few things before we get started with the Align tools. Adobe Illustrator has its own what they call smart guides. Now I usually turn mine off, but I want to turn those on because when you first open Adobe Illustrator, they will be on. You probably noticed these pink lines popping up on your screen everywhere, and those are called your smart guides. So this is under the View drop-down menu. Command U is the command to toggle that on and off. So I'm just going to turn these on so you can see what they are. And I have this object selected. I'm going to make a copy of that object and I'm going to drag it in here. And you'll see these pink lines pop up all over my screen. That means it's aligning with something. Okay, so it's picking up the other object's locations and it's kind of trying to help guide you to where to put this object as far as if you need to line things up. And you can see these other brackets that pop up between them. Those are distribute brackets. So I'm actually distributing these objects pretty cleanly as well as aligning them. So with the guides on, you can do this. And if your design is relatively simple, you can get away with just using the guides on your screen. But as things get more complicated and you get more objects on your screen, you're going to find that when you are moving things around on your screen, you're going to find lines popping up everywhere, and it gets a little bit confusing the more objects you have on your screen. So well, I'm just going to go with these 10 here, and that's a good amount of objects. Let me zoom in a little bit. And I'm going to turn off the smart guides now so I can show you how to really align these. So I'm going to kind of jiggle these around a little bit to show you how these tools work. And these could be anywhere on your screen. So if you notice in your properties window, you will see align tools. These are what the align tools actually look like. So, and when you roll over, it'll tell you what it's doing and which direction it's going to go. The pictures kind of illustrate how it's going to align. So you can find these tools here. You can also find them at the top of your screen. If you have your control bar open, you can go and you can find the align tools. Don't confuse them with distribute. That's going to be in another lesson. And you also have, and sometimes I like to have just the window open on my screen. There's also an align window that you can have floating around your screen as well. So this is a good window to have open. Okay, so I'm going to take all these 10 objects here. So I'm going to select all of them with my direct selection tool. So I just click and drag the box around that. And I'm going to try using the align tool. So if I want to align these all, and they're all the same size, so actually any of these three are going to do the same thing since they're all the same size. So if I align these through the center, you will see on the picture here, it's telling you there's a little like guideline through the middle of these objects, and when I click on that, it's taking them all and lining them up through the center. All their centers are aligned. If you have objects that are all different sizes, and you align through the centers are all lined up, but the bottom and top are going to be off, based on how tall these objects are. So if I wanted to like kind of set up maybe like a city or something like that, a city skyline, you could align these up along the bottom, and that's how that works. Okay, if I click one of these over here, this is going against a different plane. So when I align these, they're all kind of stacking up on one of the objects. But all their sides are lined up perfectly. Okay, so this would be better if you had a kind of a vertical stack of objects. You'd probably want to use that. So if I had things lined up going up this way, and I wanted them all lined up along the side, then I can go into my line window and I could click on align by side, and they will all line up. Now notice they're bouncing to a particular location. Okay. This is called a key object. So I'm going to go up to the squares up top here, and I'm going to kind of reconfigure these a little bit. Move these around. Okay. So after I say I made a bunch of copies of a rectangle, you select them all, and I want to align them. Right now, This object here has a bolder outline on it. So when you select a bunch of objects, one of the objects will have a bolder outline. This is your key object. Now, if I wanted all of these objects to align to the center of, say, this one, I would need to click on this object. Now you see that there is a bolder line around this object. And this will be set now to align to the key object. So when I align these now, they all jumped up and aligned themselves with that particular object. Now there is a setting for that in the align window, and if I go to the upper corner of the align window, I could go to show options, and it says align to, and that's where I would find it. So it's going to align to the key object. Okay, you can also align these to the artboard itself, but I find that I really don't use that very often. The key object is really the way to go. I mean, you could also align it to any object and then move them along. Okay, so that's basically how the line tool works. It's a very often used tool. One last thing before I stop this tutorial. If you took a single point, so now I'm using the direct selection tool, and if I'm going to shift click the upper corner of all of these rectangles. I'll just do these here. Okay, so I have just these points selected. If I use an align tool with just those points selected, what's happening is it took that particular point and lined them all up. So it was the upper left-hand corner of the rectangle are all lined up. Okay, so now if I move these up, they're all staying together. They are all lined up together. Okay, so you could use this with just singular points as well. Okay, so that's the align tools. In the next video, we'll talk about distribute, and these two tools go very much hand in hand.